Ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling you, and it's on my website, that we were going to have attorney Justin Fairfax to be on the Jack Gravely Show. He just walked into the studio. He is here. Let me give you a little bit about him. I met this young man a few days ago. I was very impressed with the meeting we had. He is an attorney, Columbia Law School. And where did you go on undergrad?
Went to Duke University.
Duke University, not UVA, Duke.
That's right.
And he's been a former federal prosecutor, small business owner. He's a father, 2 young children. He's a Virginian by way of D.C. I know where you come from, brother.
That's right.
He's an advocate of education.
Absolutely.
And he wants to be your Attorney General of Virginia. He is running for the position of Attorney General on the Democratic ticket. He lives in Northern Virginia. Exactly where do you live in Northern Virginia?
Jack, we live in Fairfax County, Annandale to be specific.
Annandale.
Yes, sir.
And can you believe this? He lives in Fairfax, and his last name is Fairfax. Attorney Justin Fairfax, welcome to the Jack Gravely Show.
Thank you so much, Jack. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you very much. I know I've given him a little background about you just now.
Yes.
But Attorney Fairfax, tell my listening audience, who's Justin Fairfax?
Yeah.
Where do you come from? What do you believe? Talk a little bit about yourself. Who are we talking to or listening to this morning?
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. Well, thank you so much, and thank you to your listeners. I'm a former federal prosecutor, as you mentioned. I was at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Alexandria, Virginia. I left there in the fall to begin this campaign for Attorney General of Virginia. And who I am is someone who was raised by his grandparents in inner city D.C. along with his mother, and who has taken a mighty journey. Because folks gave me security and opportunity in my life. They gave me the opportunity to go to college, to take safe loans to be able to do that, and eventually to go to law school at Columbia Law School, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. They gave me security. I grew up in an environment that was not very safe, a lot of gangs, guns, and drugs. And that's the reason I became a federal prosecutor, because I wanted to give people a much safer community than what I had growing up. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I own a small business, as you mentioned. My wife's a dentist. Actually went to the VCU School of Dentistry here in Richmond. We also own a home here in Richmond that she bought when she was at the VCU School of Dentistry. And so we're small business owners. I was a federal prosecutor. I've gotten all these educational opportunities because folks gave me security and opportunity. And as Attorney General, that's what I want to do for everybody here in Virginia. I think that everybody's entitled to that exact same shot at a great life, no matter where they start, no matter what community they grow up in or what their last name is. They should have the exact same shot at the American dream as I got. And we need an Attorney General who's going to focus in on those issues, on using that office, on using the tools of that office to make sure that they get that shot and that opportunity. And so that's what our campaign's been focused about. It's really focused on the families of Virginia and making sure that they have the opportunity to achieve the American dream in the exact same way.
So you just answered my second question. Why do you want to be Attorney General?
Absolutely.
What is it? Yeah. How's the campaign going?
It's been going incredibly well. We had the first straw poll in the state took place about a month ago. We got nearly half of the vote.
You got about 46%?
46% of the vote. And this is coming from a place 6 months ago. Folks didn't even know who we were.
Justin who?
That's exactly right. But in that time, we have seen such incredible excitement, such wonderful momentum that's come not only out of my background, personal background, professional background as a federal prosecutor, but out of our message. These crowds have grown. We've spoken on college campuses. We've spoken in small businesses. We've done meet and greets in the community. And people have gotten inspired by that message because they see that we're talking about them. This is not some esoteric campaign. This is not about petty, political arguments. This is about them, their children, their community, and the chance for all of them to achieve the American dream. And that's why we've come so far so fast.
What kind of message do you think you have? People are a little cynical with politics today.
Absolutely.
People like politics, but they don't like politicians. And what is it that Justin Fairfax brings to a marketplace of politics that says not only vote for me, believe in me, support me, and follow me? What message does Justin Fairfax bring?
Well, Jack, I appreciate that question. First of all, I am the only non-politician in this race for Attorney General of Virginia. I'm the only person who has not, run for or held public elective office. So I come at this from a completely different perspective. One, as a federal prosecutor. And my job, Jack, every day as a federal prosecutor was to do just a few things. It was to go to work, to apply the law, to follow the law, and to protect Virginia citizens and businesses. That's what I did every single day that I woke up.
How long were you a federal prosecutor?
A little over 2 years.
Okay.
I went there June of 2010 and left in August of 2012 to begin this campaign.
Okay.
Prior to that, I actually was in private practice. So
Okay.
I worked for a large law firm in D.C.
Okay.
Had a lot of experience in that regard, high-level, complex legal matters. So I had a lot of great background from that. I also was a law clerk for a federal district judge prior to that. So I sat in on terrorism trials, complex civil and criminal cases. So we had an amazing legal background that we brought to this race, and also a passion and a message that is focused on touching people in their everyday lives.
Now I got to ask you questions that you're going to get on the campaign.
Oh, please.
How do you answer a question, Attorney Fairfax,
Yeah.
some Virginians
Yeah.
that says to you, Justin, we like you, you dress nice, you speak nice, you're well-educated, but Justin, you're just not Virginia enough for us, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't lived here long enough, Justin.
Yeah.
You wasn't born here. You're a D.C. guy coming over to Virginia. How do you deal with a question like that, or people sort of holding off on you on that? How do you deal with that?
Well, we've seen it, for folks who have had any questions like that, that's something that we overcome very quickly when they meet us. And in fact, there are a couple things that are important to note. I have Virginia blood running through my veins. If folks go and look on our website, they'll look at a page called Justin's Virginia Roots. On my father's side, our Virginia heritage goes back, hundreds of years.
Okay.
My folks were from, Fredericksburg, Dahlgren, Colonial Beach, King George County.
Okay.
In fact, I just had a family reunion last summer.
Yeah.
Northern Neck. Just had a family reunion last summer in King George County.
Okay.
Ancestral home of on my dad's side. And so, that blood runs through my veins. Those experiences run through my veins. My wife is a native Virginian. She was born in Arlington County, raised in Prince William County.
Okay.
Both of our children were born here in Virginia. When I left law school, I chose to come back to Virginia to establish my roots, to give my community service. We started our small business in Virginia, dental practice that my wife and I own in Fairfax.
Okay.
I became a federal prosecutor here in Virginia. And we serve our community here in Virginia. And
I know you, Virginia. Good enough. I know you, Virginia. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Justin Fairfax. He's running for the Attorney General position on the Democratic ticket here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He's here with one of his staff people. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, if you have some questions for Mr. Fairfax, always remember now, Mr. Fairfax is a guest in my house. All right? Break time. We'll be right back.
The Jack Gravely Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for being with me on the Jack Gravely Show. I've been telling you for the last several days, and if you go to my Facebook page, you will see that Mr. Fairfax is on Jack Gravely's Facebook page. I put him up there yesterday, and I thought it was very important to let as many people as we know. Several people have called and asked me last night at the wake for Officer Trooper Walker down in Petersburg, what time you were coming on. So those of you who I saw last night who may be listening to the show, we have a slight a conflict. They are now in the funeral service of Trooper Walker down at Good Shepherd Baptist Church in Petersburg, and my condolences and respect and love and prayers go out to them. We had scheduled Mr. Fairfax on Sunday afternoon with his staff. Let me tell you, if you don't win the race, it's your fault. It's not your staff. Because your staff...
They tell me that all the time.
Yeah, let me tell you. No, that was only... And what I'm saying, complimentary, is I got with your staff, and before Sunday was over,
yeah,
we had hooked this up.
Absolutely.
We had hooked this up.
Jack, we're excited to come see you. And Jack, I'm sorry.
Go on.
Not to interrupt. I just want to... You made a very important note about Trooper Walker. And I just wanted to say briefly, send my thoughts and prayers and my family's thoughts and prayers out to Trooper Walker. I had the great privilege of being at historic First Baptist Church, Centralia, Chesterfield on Sunday, where the pastor, Dr. Shannon, recognized the family and said such tremendous things about Trooper Walker, and I joined in that sentiment, and also Pastor Reeves, a good shepherd.
Right.
I got a chance to see him on Sunday, and so
right.
I just want to let Trooper Walker's family know that our thoughts and prayers are with him. I come from a law enforcement background, as a federal prosecutor. My wife's father and uncle are both deputy sheriffs in Arlington. My oldest brother is also a former federal prosecutor.
Okay.
So we know folks who put their lives on the line for us every day in law enforcement. We know their families. We know their children. And we know how much they sacrifice for us. And so I just want to, before we get back into the campaign, I just wanted to say personally that my thoughts and prayers are with them, and I hope that they find some respite in this time and some solace in their faith.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard candidate for the Democratic nominee for Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Mr. Fairfax. Hold on. The telephone lines are open, 788-0990, 788-0990. My toll-free number is 877-953-3990. You know how you guys beat me up and girls beat me up when I have a guest like Mr. Fairfax on. Jack, you dominate the conversation. You ask all the questions. Well, the question line is open. He said that he would take calls. And again, just, you can disagree with him. And for my Republican conservative friends out there, you can talk to him too. You can call in and you can talk to him. You can ask him questions. He's not going to bite your head off.
Not at all.
He's not going to call you a low information voter.
No.
He's not going to call you any bad names. You can call in and talk to him.
That's right.
Even if you disagree with him. Mr. Fairfax.
Yes, please.
If you are elected Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia, what are some of the programs and plans you would like to institute and make sure, other than protecting the rights and the safety of the citizens of Virginia,
right,
what are some of the things you would like to do as Attorney General?
Absolutely. Well, to start, we have this message of economic security. As you know, Jack, we've just gone through one of the most tremendous downturns in the economy. Families have been ravaged in so many ways, whether it's losing their homes, not being able to send their kids to school, not really having access to capital or credit, and how that's really impacted families, not only in the last 4 or 5 years, but, going out 4 or 5 years. And so, with that message, some of the specific things we want to do, we're going to protect homeowners in Virginia. And we've seen this around the country. Other attorneys.
What do you mean by that, and how are you going to do that? What is that?
Absolutely. What I mean by that, Jack, is that we're going to stop some of the worst abuses by banks and lenders against homeowners. Okay. So, for example, the robo-signing scandal, which was the scandal where banks were taking people's homes and foreclosing on them without even proving that the banks actually own the homes, own the title to the homes. So people are out in the dark. They don't have any legal help, and they've lost their home. And meanwhile, the banks weren't even entitled to take them.
Right.
That's why we had a settlement of $25 billion with a B that was entered last year in the court. We need to make those protections permanent. They're temporary, and I would make that a high priority as Attorney General of Virginia.
We are taking calls, but you have to call in and have a specific question for Mr. Fairfax. He's going to be here for a minute. You can call us at 788-0990. Just give us your first name and say you want to ask Mr. Fairfax a question. We'll put you on the air. 877-953-3990. Mr. Fairfax, Justin Fairfax, is running for the slot of Attorney General on the Republican side. I think
on the Democratic side, Jack.
Excuse me. On the Democratic side. Thank you.
No.
A broad,
very proud Democrat.
Too broad. Excuse me. My mistake. On the Democratic side. And they're having a statewide convention to elect their candidates. So he's going to be running all over the state of Virginia, and he is all over Central Virginia today and over the weekend, going to churches, going to homes, going to receptions, and radio stations. And when I asked Mr. Fairfax to come on my radio show on Tuesday, like I said, his staff jumped on it, and between emails, we got it done. Let's go to the phone. Let's go to former city council member of the city of Richmond, Marty Jewell. Marty Jewell, you're on the Jack Gravely Show. You have a question for Mr. Fairfax?
Good morning, Jack. Good morning, Mr. Fairfax.
Good morning, Marty. It's great to hear from you.
I am so glad you raised the issue of the banks who have been running amok with virtually no punishment at all. When you consider the billions that they pay back in fines, doesn't even begin to approach what they ripped off. One particular instance is right here in the city of Richmond with SunTrust Mortgage, who was fined by the feds for jacking up the interest rates of minorities with the same financial profile as whites. They were made to pay $21 million. I don't know where that money goes. That's my first question.
Right.
Does that money go back to the offending mortgage holders?
And your second question.
Do they have to sue individually? The second question is, as Attorney General, what would you do to make the black community whole when you've got banks specifically targeting African Americans and Hispanics?
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Marty. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Marty, thank you so much for that question. And let me just address those specific questions in turn. First, with regard to the earlier settlement, I'd seen the news of that settlement and others like it for banks that were essentially, preying on, folks who borrowed money to get homes and were treating them incredibly unfairly. It discriminated against them, charged them higher interest rates, unfair terms. And so, the reason that we got a lot of those settlements was because, DOJ stepped in. But we'd not had an AG in Virginia who was there to, fight that fight. And that wasn't the only instance of that happening. And so we need an attorney general who is going to fight that fight on behalf of homeowners. Folks can't always afford, a private lawyer to go up against big banks. And even when they can, it's not always enough. You need someone in the public sphere in that office who's going to fight that fight on their behalf. And then with regard to making folks whole, we have to do that. We had a $25 billion, I mentioned, mortgage settlement. That was a nationwide mortgage settlement last year. It's a temporary
$25 billion?
$25 billion with a B.
Okay.
It was that's nationwide.
Right.
49 state attorneys general joined in on that. Ken Cuccinelli, of course, joined in very late and then complained about it. He thought we were treating the banks unfairly in the settlement. It was outrageous. And the money was diverted in ways that it didn't get to the folks who needed it. It didn't get to foreclosure prevention and write-downs on mortgage and, foreclosure, sort of credit counseling. And so, we saw a wasted opportunity there. They are temporary protections, only go for 3 years. It's a court decree. Those protections need to be permanent. We need a homeowner's bill of rights in Virginia. And, even without that, we need an AG who's going to focus in on protecting homeowners because, as we know, when folks lose their homes, they don't just lose four walls and a roof, Jack. They lose the heart of their economic security. And we all suffer. This is another issue where it's not just about one family. If, the Jones family up the street loses their homes, what happens to the value of your property? It goes down significantly. And then that creates economic issues for you and your family. And so, this is a systemic problem, and you need an AG who's going to focus on this to protect folks, give them a brighter economic future.
All right, let's go back to the phones. We'll take this call, and then we got to go to a break. Saul, you have a question or comment for Mr. Fairfax?
Oh, yes, sir. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Saul.
Fairfax.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Okay, I don't want to put you on a hot spot, but now you're running for AG for the state of Virginia.
Yep.
Where do you stand on the gun legislation? Because that's a big thing, nationally, especially here in Virginia. We're gun state people here in Virginia.
Yep.
We got these gun shows and everything else, especially in the heart of Virginia. So, where do you stand on that? And do you have any type of plan going forward, bringing it in to try to help this gun thing this gun problem that's going on in the state of Virginia?
Yep.
All right, Saul, thanks for your call and your question.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Thank you, Saul. It's a great and very timely question. Let me address it this way. First of all, folks have a Second Amendment right, constitutional right to own guns, to protect themselves and to keep their homes and their families safe. The Supreme Court has ruled on that in Heller, and so that's a right that I would defend like the other rights that people have. That said, we have seen too many tragedies. We have seen too many people harmed. We've lost too many of our children to gun violence, and we have to do everything that we can to reduce that gun violence. We don't want another Aurora, another Newtown, another Virginia Tech. We can't afford it. Folks say we'll get to it later. We don't want to deal with it now. Well, you know what? Later is now. And I don't want to lose another kid that we don't have to lose to gun violence because we didn't take the action we needed to take. And so specifically, I believe that we should have universal background checks for all purchases of guns. I think that's critically important. As a federal prosecutor, I don't want guns falling into wrong hands of folks. I think that we also should, have bans or curbs on these high-capacity magazines. Folks don't need 100 rounds in a magazine to go hunting. And I have the great fortune of having family members who have a great perspective on this, including one who is a hunter his whole entire life. He grew up in Mississippi, lives in Virginia, and he said, I don't need 100 bullets in a magazine to go hunt deer or pheasant or quail. We know that those magazines are meant to do the most amount of damage to human beings and the most carnage that they can do. And so we need to take sensible steps and immediate steps to make sure that those no longer pose a threat to public safety and to public health and threaten our children.
The telephone lines are open. Mr. Justin of Fairfax is on the Jack Gravely Show. He's here in the Richmond area today. He tells me when he leaves Richmond, he's going down 64 to Norfolk State. Right. There's a candidates forum down in Norfolk tonight. So for those of you, and I do have some listeners in the Norfolk area, Bill and all, you all might want to go over and meet this young man. Let's go back to the phone. All right, this may very well be our last call with the time we have left. Fred, Chesterfield County, you have a question or a comment for Mr. Justin Fairfax?
Attorney Fairfax,
Yes, sir.
You know the women's vote in Virginia is very crucial to your election to be the Attorney General, and I know I'm going to support you. You got my vote.
Thank you very
And
much.
also, what are you going to do to get this woman? Because the Republican Party have no women in the party in the hierarchy of the party.
Yes.
What are you going to say to get women voters? And also, leave your number for Mr. Jack Gravity. I call in the show. I'm going to support you, and I'm organizing for Fairfax for Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Fred. Thank you. Thank you. I got about a minute left.
Absolutely. Fred, thank you so much for that question. I am so passionate about women's rights issues. And as I tell folks in my household, they're not just women's rights issues, they're men's rights issues. I was raised by a strong woman. I am married to a strong woman. And now I'm raising a strong woman in my young daughter. And so, men have to fight these battles alongside. We need to make sure that women's reproductive rights are protected. Their rights over their body and access to reproductive health care, equal pay for equal work. These are things that, to me, are not just women's rights issues. These are things that we all need to stand up and fight for. And I promise you, as Attorney General of Virginia, I will fight incredibly hard to make sure that women have exactly the same opportunities as men.
We got to get out of here. Mr. Justin Fairfax filled up the hour. He will be back on the Jack Gravely Show. I'd like to thank Ms. Thomas and others for making it possible for him to be here. I want you to walk real slow. I want you to drink plenty of water. Gone.
The Jack Gravely Show.